Okay, so I think what we'll do is why don't we start, and I'll start down the other end. Why don't you share with the audience? Obviously, they can see your name and your title, but give a little bit about the journey for yourself, how you got to where you are today.
So my name is Fernando Romero. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here. I am the head of digital sales for TelevisaUnivision. We are the largest U.S. Hispanic media company in the world and the #1 culture platform for engaging Hispanics, reaching 80% on a monthly basis across all touch points, cable, broadcast, audio, digital, social, sports. So very fortunate in the position that we're in, especially as U.S. Hispanics become the mainstream, right? I think that's part of the conversation that I would love to have with you today in terms of how they are a growing consumer, one of the fastest consumer segments in the U.S. today. My journey has been, I've been a digital native since, let's just say, the early 90s. So always been a student of digital. So now I think we're up to digital 4.0 with some of the stuff that Jane and this team are doing in terms of AI. So it's the constant evolution to stay in touch with technology.
Okay, Jay, tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure, I'm Jay. You met me 24 minutes ago on the last panel. I'm back. I work at an AI video technology company that, Melanie, you talked to with Shoppable TV and Shoppable Media and Commerce, and we are powering shoppable video strategies using AI with video creative. So if you guys do video or you have assets and you want to make them commerce-based, KERV is an automated platform that does that. And my journey has always been in ad tech, but I started on the TV side at the History Channel and A&E, and I realized that digital was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I got in, and my claim to fame was Samba TV, which was a TV data company many years ago. So I've morphed my career, but I'm really excited to be in AI, video, and commerce. I feel like those are 3 areas that are going to grow like crazy in the next 5-10 years.
Okay, Bryan.
Thanks, Valda. I really appreciate the invitation to be here today. Bryan McGuirk, I'm Chief Revenue Officer of Stingray Advertising. Stingray is a group, public company that's focused on audio in all its forms. We run 100 radio stations in Canada. We've got 20 fast channels here in the U.S. We've got a very deep and growing in-store media business, which I'm responsible for. And it is one of the fastest growing elements of Stingray. Today in the US, we cover over 21,000 stores, with grocery being the largest segment that we cover. We have banners including Albertsons, Kroger, Ahold, Giant Eagle, Stop and Shop, among so many others. And on the pharma side, it's CVS and Rite Aid. So I'm proud to say that all of those banners actually carry most of McCormick's products. And
they sure do.
And even CVS has 2 key products that I was very surprised, Gravy Mix and French's Mustard. So it's kind of universal. So that's a little bit about my background. I started, just to give you a bit on where I began, similar to Fernando, I'm a digital native from the early 90s, went through Turner Broadcasting and NBC. But interesting to the discussion this morning, I ran a company called Wink in the early 2000s, which was the originator of shoppable TV. So what's old is new again.
Love that. And I'm going to spice things up a little bit, right? Especially since I kind of work on that hot sauce that you all tasted earlier. But I also know we have a colleague in here from Wingstop. Right. So my first rapid fire question is for each of you, and please don't take too long to answer. It's supposed to be quick. Are you team bone in or boneless? Let's go. Come on.
Bone in.
Boneless.
Bone in. You know what it is. Yep.
And since Tabitha's presentation gave you lots of hints, what's your favorite spice?
My favorite, or you want to start down there?
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay, I'll roll with it. My favorite is Old Bay. I grew up with it. I have cousins that were at Baltimore, so crab cakes on in always.
Can I say garlic powder, even though it's not really a spice?
You can say garlic powder.
All right. I live in New York. I like pizza. I put it on my pizza. I love it. Thank you.
Married to a Baltimore native, so definitely Old Bay.
All right, there we go. I got a couple more, though. We're going to keep going with the flavor, okay? Anybody know a song with spice in it?
Start down.
Well, no, but I'm cheating, so I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Ah, there you go. Good answer. Jay?
I feel like you got to say spice up your life, but my wife would be very happy if I said that, but that's not true. Salt and pepper.
Oh, all right. You're taking it back. We're going to hip hop days. I like that.
I'm a throwback. I'll go with Neil Young, Cinnamon Girl.
Oh, awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Well, it is the Olympics, right? So each of you, what sport would you compete in if you had that talent in the Olympics?
Marathon or triathlon?
Basketball.
Rowing.
Okay. One more, because I like to get to know people, right? Most used app on your phone?
Oh, man. Instagram.
LinkedIn.
You're the AI guy.
What? Do I have to have an AI answer for everything?
I'm just surprised. That's all.
Should I say ChatGPT? No, I mean LinkedIn and then the photo app because I have two babies. So
Gotcha.
Mine varies day to day, but it's a battle. New York Times, LinkedIn, and Spotify.
Awesome. Okay. I think we've gotten to know you guys a little bit, beyond the job. But since AI was brought up, I can't not start with an AI question, right? That's definitely one of the topics that's hot across our industry. How are each of you using AI, and what type of AI are you using?
Yeah, so we recently just partnered with a company called ShopSense, which is also part of an AI-based commerce initiative. So some of the stuff that Melanie was talking about and Lizzie was talking about in terms of incorporating shoppable TV, shoppable commerce. Again, Latinos over-index with mobile phones and consumption. So that second screen experience we were able to bring to a lot of our temple events. So we also have Latin Grammys, for example. So we're curating looks from the red carpet that it's immediate. And they're trusted with social as influencers as well. So we are incorporating that on a day-to-day basis where we're introducing products and services and food segments on a daily basis. So the recipes and the ingredients that are happening, we're seeing a huge interest and lift on the commerce experience. We're also doing a lot of data integration. So AI is obviously a big part of that, in terms of how we're segmenting our first-party data, how we're also building local products for a lot of our partners on the audio and local side, because there's an immediate creative solution that brings into market. So AI is definitely a big part of what we're doing. Also from a content development standpoint, how we're powering other AI engines with a lot of our IP and intellectual property that we're bringing in from a lot of show creation that's happening. So it is a fascinating technology, but we are also just trying to temper the enthusiasm that can take over, because you definitely still need, the human brain to kind of operate the AI technology behind that. So we are sensitive to that.
I'm going to stay with that a little bit, right? Just on the human brain, and AI is developing as we engage with it, right? I'm just curious from the Latin audience perspective, though, Spanish. Do you find that, as you're using these tools, that it's there, that it's caught up, or there's still some ways to go?
So, Latinos definitely lean into technology a little bit differently. And what we obviously pride ourselves on is understanding those nuances, understanding la cultura, right? The culture that is a little bit different. In language and culture is really important. So there's a trust factor that comes along with our brands that, again, that we've harnessed and built over the last 50 years with this consumer segment. And it's now actually leaning over to the 18 to 24 that is adopting technology a little bit differently. But I think to the point that was made in the earlier segment, there is a nostalgia that happens with that. So I think there's a trust factor that still comes with not too much technology. Our audience gravitates towards personalities and engagement, I think, is always going to be a little bit more important. So they'll use technology as an ease of use, but again, I think they're still going to gravitate more towards a trusted face and name, a little bit more importantly.
Okay, thank you. Jay?
Yeah, so we are a technology company. We apply AI to static creative, to static assets. I see Nike's in the first row, Jason here. So we say just curve it. So we're trying to make curve a verb, like you Google something or you Xerox it, you curve it. And when you curve it, you apply AI to static assets, and you can immediately make them either shoppable. Our tech makes everything object level. So we see every object at the most precise level within video content. So we're actually detecting every single hot sauce in the commercial or in the Jason Kelsey video you showed before. Everything could literally link out. So today we power Disney, NBCU, Paramount, Roku, and a bunch of others. But we also do a lot on static ads, where we take static ads and make them either commerce-based or interactive. But we think AI is going to change the creative game. We think that building hundreds and thousands of variations of creatives is going to be simplified to one creative and lots of different either touch points or QR codes if you do CTV like Courtney. But we think AI is going to transform content. And you guys, this is different than generative AI. This is different than ChatGPT. This is about static ads and making static ads work harder because you've used AI to optimize, inform, and then from a data standpoint, analytics standpoint, you guys are going to get a treasure trove of data from AI that you never had before from your content. And I think that's the most exciting part, is how you use it with all the data you collect plus the creative data from AI to bring it together and then create a media strategy. So we're just a tech company. We just have technology that makes content work harder across all screens. And we want you to author the creative. We think AI is going to change the way creative is actually done.
Got it. And before you answer, Bryan, I'd like to just kind of evolve the question a little bit towards, we've got people from many different industries in the audience. Can you share also what workflows and jobs are touching AI? So are you seeing something, in that vein?
Absolutely. At Stingray, we're using AI in almost everything we do. We've got our own proprietary AI engine we call Sonata, which is really a combination of ChatGPT-4, Bard, and some other tech behind our firewall. And so it is proprietary. We teach it every day, and we're using it for a wide variety of workflows. I mean, ranging from RFPs to writing scripts to actually producing ads in Canada. We do them with AI. And we're bringing it in. We actually are producing 98% of one of our fast channels with AI today. So there's a large, just broad spectrum of workflows. We also use it for partner research. So I last night actually asked Sonata, and specifically, what is McCormick doing to innovate its reach to consumers in 2024? And Sonata chirped right in about 1 second with beginning with, it was 6 items. Digital transformation. They're accelerating their digital transformation to enhance service, improve efficiency, and strengthen decision-making with data and insights. Product innovation. McCormick plans to significantly increase new product launches in spices and seasonings, aiming for 6 times the number compared to 2022. Package renovation. They've revamped their everyday line of spices with new packaging to include nitrogen flushing, improved caps to preserve freshness. AI integration. You've partnered with IBM to research using AI for flavor and food product development, flavor creation and forecasting, customer engagement, all the way down. And all of these initiatives are part of McCormick's broader strategy to drive profitable growth, strengthen global leadership, and drive your people culture.
Who was that guy you talked to?
This is
right. Is that true? Can we
this
get
is our Sonata.
Is that true?
Nice job, McCormick. Congratulations.
How did it do? How did Sonata do?
Well, I did kind of nod my head at some people in the audience because we're like, "Ooh, how'd they know that?" Yeah.
It's been called creepy, but it's very good.
Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. Okay. So switching from AI, because the theme of today is driving brand value, we're going to move directly to that topic, right? So are there any use cases or brand examples that you can share where you built brand value within a digital ecosystem? That's a broad question, but stepping
is.
outside of AI a bit.
Yeah, and that's something that we work with our partners every day in terms of new product development, new brand awareness, obviously engaging with the Hispanic consumers in our digital ecosystem. So, from our vantage point, again, we talk about authenticity and inclusion. We talk about showing up in culture and language and understanding and celebrating the things that celebrate Latinos across, but also understanding all the nuances that make Latinos different and unique in all their different cultures that they represent, that we represent. So it really just depends on what the objectives are going to be for a client. When we look at an RFP, obviously we try to analyze it based on what is the KPIs that we want to achieve, but also we feel that it's best, again, having that conversation with the clients to understand exactly what is the objective and what is the desired outcome to help build that. So when we introduce food segments, again, on a daily basis on some of our daily shows, Despierta America is now our #1 morning show for Latinos. We are very deliberate on what we can do for our partners. For example, Unilever is one of our bigger partners. We introduced Noor during Copa America. Hopefully you guys all had a chance to watch Copa America, which was great. It was the largest record-breaking for our platform in over 10 years. So that was a cooking segment that we had introduced specifically for their recipes and how they wanted to really celebrate the different flavors of Latin culture. And then we took that across our entire ecosystem, created audio experiences, brought in influencers, put that against social. So it really is about leveraging all the different touch points. We talked about TikTok and how TikTok shows up every day. So understanding how each platform will help you amplify that audience across the board. And again, something like soccer and food and music are real passion points for our audiences. So how do we incorporate that into the daily messaging of what we want to achieve for our client?
Great. Thank you.
That's great. So Clorox Hidden Valley Ranch is one of our big clients. They've used us to segment their flavors across their products. And we drove, we put a Lucid study on it. It drove tremendous brand lift. That's not really around the ecosystem, though. The one example I want to share is Audi. Audi has hundreds of dealerships, or they had hundreds of dealerships, and they had one static creative, and we basically dynamically changed the QR codes in the video creative to basically change based on all the different locations. So when you scanned, if you were in Baltimore, you got the Baltimore dealerships. If you got in New York, you got the New York dealerships. So we basically transformed one creative to be manipulated thousands of times just by changing the QR code using AI. Not to get back to AI, sorry. But
that is your business.
It is. But you asked how it's cross-platform. When you scan, you show intent. When you show intent, you can then retarget. When you retarget somebody who's shown interest. So really, we followed them down the funnel, and we put all sorts of measurement on that, all brand lift studies, and we tracked in store or in dealership with like a Foursquare, and we just saw a tremendous amount of uptick in dealership visits.
That's really amazing. I'm just thinking, gosh, Google might be losing some business because if you can direct me based on my location like that, I don't need to go searching for the Audi dealership.
It takes search, and it doesn't take away search, but it definitely, you don't need to search because you bring it to the person who actually scanned. They've shown intent. Opt-in advertising is the best.
Ultimate customization.
Yeah, true.
Just when you looked at one thing I wanted to mention up front is that Stingray advertising, our in-store network is fully digital today. So we have a digital ecosystem, and probably a good example of how we help brands and how we've helped build brand value is an announcement we just did on our 100th Nielsen Match Panel study. That's over the last decade and plus, but it's really bringing this measured 42 different brand CPG categories, and the average lift was 20.3%. So we were able to really, bring promotion into the store as we talked about, but also provide real test versus control store scientific lift on sales. So that's something that we've done often for our brands. We've had McCormick as an advertiser. We have not done one of those for you, but it's something that we've done for numerous brands, and we're proud to have 100 of them.
Awesome. Okay. one more planned question, and then I do want to turn it over to the audience because I think I certainly have more questions, but I'll let the audience ask. McCormick is a company with many brands, as you saw globally, sold in so many countries around the world, and that really does translate to an increasingly diverse consumer base that's not only demanding great flavor, but meal solutions as well, right? That are personalized for them and their families. What advice would you give to our brand teams? Any models or approaches that you would offer as we tackle best meeting the need for personalization?
Well, yeah, I'll kick that off. Look, it's about understanding who you want to target. Obviously, that's 101. For the U.S. Hispanics, we over-index, obviously, in large meals and large families. We enjoy cooking as much as eating. So I think that's a big part of it. The journey of going to the market, again, it's a family tradition, going out there, making sure that you pick the right spices and the right ingredients for a wonderful meal. Cooking in the kitchen as a family is a big, important thing. That's more oriented in the nucleus of the family through food, which is really important, which, again, we like to celebrate. And then actually the meals, right, and putting that all together. So we have a lot of data in terms of their consumption patterns and what they like and what are the products that they're going to gravitate towards, the shopping experiences that they prefer. So our data graph was actually built to help educate that first-party data that we have troves of. We can map back to close to 90% of all U.S. Hispanic households here. And that makes us unique, right? So that's data that we can actually build. Some of the things that were interesting is how we're partnering with retail media networks to also amplify that. So Walmart is one of our biggest partners. Amazon is another partner. Albertson, Kroger's, because they want to understand the U.S. Hispanic consumer to personalize that experience. So when they come to market, they go to the store, that's a different experience for them. So I think it's continuing that experience and that journey. Again, it's going to make it unique to the consumer segment, especially with all the wonderful brands that you have. Actually, spices is a big part of what we love. I know someone mentioned here the tamales are really important. Obviously, you need the tamales, you need the hot sauces that are going to be part of that experience. How that gets introduced into the family every day, and how do you leverage that? Again, we have Chef Yeezus, who is our day-to-day person that we utilize him because, again, food is a big cultural moment for our audience, and that happens on a daily basis. So it's really about understanding that consumer segment and how we can leverage that. And we'd love to partner with you all to kind of make that experience.
Yeah, I've kind of talked about personalization ad nauseum at this point, so I doubt anybody wants to hear from me anymore on personalization. But I did try 2 hot sauces before on the table when I got the caps off, and the 2 hot sauces are good. It's a good metaphor for if you have both of those hot sauces in a creative and I opt in and I want to learn more about the Buffalo one, now that becomes a first party data segment. Mm-hmm. So we're getting more from creative than we ever have before, especially video. Video has always been an upper funnel, GRPs, completion rate, viewability, but it's never been a treasure trove of data unless you use media mix modeling and then make assumptions. Now, the person who is interested in the Buffalo hot sauce, that becomes a first party data segment of an opt-in consumer who's seen your video and opted in. That data never existed before in video content. And I think as we go deeper, whether it's QR codes or it's touch patterns or it's optimization, that's going to change the way that you guys get your data from creative assets. And I've talked about it all day, but it's a good example. It's like, who's interested in the Buffalo. Mm-hmm. That person has shown intent. They've added it to cart from their video. That's really important. So we should continue to kind of do those things.
But one thing I'd like to add before, Bryan, you jump in is, but it actually was an experiential, it's a physical experience that I think is also really important, right? Mm-hmm. Getting the product in people's hand to taste is really important as well. I know we're talking about it from a digital point of view, but getting the product in hand is really important. So experiential and local is the same thing, right? Bringing the product out to market, making people taste it, I think is really important.
Absolutely. The OG ways of advertising and guerrilla and all that stuff should still be there, but digital will still, it's still just the easiest way to add to cart to your Amazon cart.
Right.
So like those retail media partnerships that we've talked about, and Melanie, you talked about before, if you can add to Amazon, Walmart, Target directly from your video content without doing anything, you've condensed the journey for consumers. So shout out Melanie again.
So if Melanie hasn't had a meeting with Jay yet, I think there's going to be one set up after this meeting.
Her call, not mine.
Just add me to the meeting.
Add Fernando, DC Fernando.
Give me my chance.
And Bryan.
I'll jump in, I guess. I actually did prepare an answer that I've completely changed after hearing Melanie and Lizzie talk. Actually, I love the insights and the focus on retail media. We're sort of unique as a platform in that we are directly partnered with the RMNs, and we represent them in the audio world. Also uniquely, we own 20 CTV channels. So your discussion of CTV channels made me think about a project that I have our innovation team working on right now. Talking about getting in early, I just decided to throw a different idea out there. But imagine you want to target audiences interested in Asian spices and Asian prepared foods. And you want to, basically develop and curate that audience, and you can do that through many methods, whether it's Criteo or LiveRamp. All of those are available as inputs in this process, and I imagine you already are working with them. We work with them too, and as do our partners. And the idea is that you curate that audience, you'd then target them on CTV. So we've got the 20 channels are on broad platforms from Samsung to LG to Roku, all the big platforms. So you could then target them. You send that message. It might even have a QR code. Not all of them will accept QR codes, but I believe we could get that in there. And then in the store, we'd echo that message in unique ways. And we'd have SMS codes for curated amounts of, or curated shopping lists. For just walking by your store this morning really hit us that there's like Thanksgiving in the window. So if you want to create that bean dip with onions, it's there. So the idea is that we're able to kind of bring that together in a unique way where you begin at CTV, continue. So we call it couch to the store. And the car is coming, but the car's not here yet. But so we are the largest player in karaoke. So when your car's driving you, we'll be your audio. But the couch to the store is something that's very much in our wheelhouse and something that I think could take a personal experience in your living room and bring it right to that store.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the audience. Are there any questions for any of the panelists?
Question for Fernando. So when you're thinking about the digital platforms in which you're trying to engage with second, third, fourth generation Hispanic consumers, where English is probably a primary language for them, maybe not outside the family more than anything else. Do you think it's worthwhile to engage them in Spanish language advertising or English language advertising? Does it come off as patronizing if it's in Spanish language and they don't feel like you're a Spanish language kind of brand? What's the best way to do that with?
So we do a lot of creative adaptations for clients, but also creative evaluation. A little bit to what the panel up here was talking about. It really is what's the desired outcome and desired audiences. Again, younger generations obviously are going to be more bilingual, so they're going to be more comfortable and more fluid on both languages. If it's going to be a little bit of an older segment, their preferences are always going to be in Spanish. We would always recommend that you speak to them in language in Spanish, but again, it's what the desired outcome is. It's also about the creative, right? What is the creative experience that you're trying to portray in that creative solution, or what the messaging might be, or what you're going to want them to do. So we're always going to encourage you to at least give us an opportunity to evaluate the creative for you, again, free of charge, because what we want is we want you to have the best experience possible with that said creative, right? If we deem that you're going to try to put an older kind of messaging in a TikTok environment, we were probably going to steer you in a different way. So we'll do the creative testing for you. We'll do an A/B copy split for you. We will translate it for you. What we always would encourage you is if you're going to have a message in Spanish, not necessarily put subtitles in English. That doesn't necessarily translate well. That's just not good, a good consumer experience. We've had some partners that actually have a bilingual experience in the commercial. You know, some people like to say it's Spanglish. So that has also translated well, but we would always recommend putting it in Spanish first, because all of our content is meant to be in Spanish and consumed in Spanish. But we also know that the audiences on the outside that is actually consuming it is going to be more comfortable being bilingual.
Thank you. Great discussion. Really, really enjoyed it. And then my question is more for Jay here is, love the concept of taking an ad and curving it. Starting to use your verb. But how should I think about, I mean, I'm seeing in ads, right? Samsung is now taking that to the next level where you can just take a picture anywhere, right? And go straight to start purchasing it. Are there ways to sort of link to that rather than just the ad and start getting first party data or consumer data from some of that universe? Yeah.
So we have a few different businesses. One is taking content ads, brand ads, and curving them. The other part of the business is using our tech to power LG, Samsung, Disney, Paramount, Roku, NBC. They're using our technology to make things shoppable. They own the front end experience. Samsung owns the experience, not KERV. We're just the technology that's helping them connect content to commerce. So when you meet with Samsung or you talk to LG and you want to make things shoppable, it's a good bet that KERV is the tech that they're using to take their content and link it out to a retailer or to a retail media network. So that's the great thing, is being agnostic and being technology allows us not to have to affect what Samsung does and how it shows it to you. Right? Think about Amazon. Has everybody seen the tiles on Amazon when you go into a show and it's like, buy the car, add to cart, like you can do different things. Outside of Amazon, that's why Vizio bought Walmart. Because they needed that data. They needed Walmart data. But you've got a lot of other OEMs or TV manufacturers wondering, how do I get into the shoppable game? What do I do? So it's an interesting space, but being technology, being agnostic to the front end experience means the integrations don't need to happen with us. We're just the tech.
On the back end.
So yeah, hope that answers or helps. Yeah.
Awesome. I had a quick question for Bryan. We heard a lot in the earlier panels about retail media. Your media at retail. Do you operate in that ecosystem? Complementary? How do you coexist, or how does that work for you guys?
Great question. We definitely coexist, and we're in cooperative discussions every day. So our teams, my sales team is also in matrix discussions with the retailers, supporting projects. In fact, one of our guys is working on something for a retailer right now. So it's constant, but they depend on us for support financially. So it cuts both ways. So they help us, we help them, and we are basically their exclusive audio partner. So oftentimes we'll actually go in together on a multimedia project that might be measurable. We just talked to a retailer about something that was, a CPG brand, a deli sandwich, and actually it was a CPG brand to sell rotisserie chicken. So it was combining two brands to actually impact a big, important item for that retailer. So, because that's almost a gateway drug for more groceries. So for them, that was very important. So it varies, but we really depend on one another, and it's a constant discussion.
Yeah, we can wrap with one last question here.
God, the pressure. Last question. Back to Jay, because you created a verb, so that's awesome. But you mentioned about being able to get first party data from creative that you haven't been able to do before. What do you see the sort of now the full circle of that? Like, where are creative strategies changing because now marketers know that I can use this and it's not just brand awareness. I might be able to get some data out of it. Like, are you seeing the impact of that on the creative itself?
Yeah, it's called mid-funnel. So you've got upper funnel branding, lower funnel performance media, but nobody ever thinks about the mid-funnel, how to take branding and bring performance into it. So yeah, by curving it, we're understanding objects within the scenes and then can break down a whole video based on every scene, every object. If there's a chef, we didn't talk much about recipes, and I just realized that. But in your static content, you can have recipes plus the opportunity to transact for Old Bay so like you can combine things in video content you never could before. That maybe the creative, like the commercial, doesn't really tell that story. It's a really cool commercial, but you can add tiles or add touch points. I think that's what makes it cool. So I think the first party data piece of it is going to be very influential if you do it right. And creative agencies, you still need good creative. You still need good content. It doesn't take anything away from the parodies and the videos and all this stuff that you do. But when you add a layer of tech to it, now it becomes transformative. Now you get opt-in, and that's important.
Yeah, and I just got to thank you for bringing up recipes, because one of the things that's always on my mind, I don't know if you guys know, but McCormick Mayonesa is actually the #1 mayo in Mexico. And it's also sold here in the United States. So when you think about elotes, right, esquites, all of those types of things, we've got, McCormick spices as well that are like tahine, right, which is a competitor. But, if we show a recipe, God, imagine, right, that hover over that recipe and you're really pointing them to all of the McCormick products that make up that recipe. That could be really, really powerful in terms of getting people to consumption and ultimately driving brand value. So I had to bring it back to the theme.
While they're watching football.
Yeah.
Soccer.
That's right. Yes. Thank you
And
all.
listening to audio.
Oh boy, here we go.
Absolutely. Always.
Anything to add?
Always.
Yeah. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
I have really enjoyed this conversation. I learned a ton in prep with them. I've learned a ton this morning with the questions that the audience have asked and the answers. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. And definitely, grab these guys during a break, during lunch or what have you. I think it's been a really fun fireside chat. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And